Awesome.
Welcome to Porch Play Chats, sponsored by the American Association for the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately titled IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association, and as part of our efforts to promote play, we've introduced Porch Play Chats, which are just conversations with people who are just as passionate about play as we are. You'll notice up on the screen is the IPA USA I Played Today sticker. That was in celebration of the International Day of Play, which happens every year on June 11th. Every year on June 11th. So those of you who are watching this are probably watching it in January of 2026. So you need to start planning for June 11th of 2026 on how you will celebrate the International Day of Play wherever you live, work, or enjoy outside time with kids. So I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm president of IPA USA. And with me on the porch is Emily McKittrick. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hi there, Deb. Happy to be here. Thanks for
We're
having me.
so excited to have you. So Emily, are you the manager? Tell me again your role there.
Yes.
The
So
manager.
yes, I'm an education manager of guest engagement and interpretation here at the San Antonio Zoo. One of the areas I oversee is Kronkosky's Tiny Tot Nature Spot, which is what I was going to talk to you guys about today.
And so if none of you have ever been to San Antonio, or you didn't come to the conference that we did in San Antonio in 2022, if you are very family oriented or very family centered, I have never seen a better community collaborate together. So I would encourage you to visit San Antonio. It is an amazing place for families and children. So Emily, as a former wild child, which I love and want to explore more, followed her childhood passion for nature, animals, and the great outdoors to San Antonio Zoo, where she's overseen these operations that she just described to us. And since its debut in 2004, so think about that, we're in 2025, the Tiny Tot Nature Spot has earned national acclaim for its innovative design and excellence in early childhood engagement and nature play. Recently reimagined for a new generation, this magical space continues to grow with its audience, offering fresh adventures that promote strength, confidence, resilience, and a lifelong bond with nature. Celebrated by publications like Parents Magazine and Reader's Digest, and helping to secure San Antonio Zoo's place as the best zoo in Texas. I just love the San Antonio Zoo. It is truly amazing. You've got to go there. So Emily's going to talk to us about Kronkosky's Tiny Tot Nature Spot and what makes it so special.
Yes, so there are a multitude of reasons that I love Kronkosky's Tiny Tot Nature Spot, which is why I have stayed for a decade and hope to stay even longer. It's just an amazing, magical place, like Deb mentioned. And what I wanted to talk about today that I think would help others is what's unique about our model of play that's different from schools or parks is that we are part of a larger organization of the San Antonio Zoo. So we have our mission of play and of nature play, but we also align that with the larger mission of the San Antonio Zoo. And what I also found out as I've talked and networked within the play community is that we are unique in the fact that we have designated trained staff, especially for the nature spot, that work all day, every day. Whenever the zoo is open, we have staff in the area that are there to facilitate play. And like I said, I've talked to other people and they're like, wait, what? Like, you have staff? You can pay people to play all day? And so it's just really, really nice. And I'm so grateful for the zoo that they recognize that this is important, that these connections for children with animals and with nature at a young age has these long-lasting effects that are so
absolutely. It gets them to appreciate the environment that they live in, right? And to almost gain this sense of bonding and attachment with their environment. One of the things I'm curious about with the people who are trained to work, do you use a play worker approach? How are they trained? Like what I'm a child, I'm coming with my mom and dad. I'm at the Tiny Tots area.
Mhm.
And what happens once I get there?
That's a really great question. So we come at it from kind of both ends.
Mhm.
So we have a schedule of activities that happen throughout the day that we advertise. We have a screen when you walk into our main Discovery Place building. It has a running slideshow that has the schedule up there, so at a glance, parents can see what's happening and where it's happening. And for the play leaders, they get a lot of freedom to choose the activities that they want to facilitate for that day. So a lot of times it depends on weather, the seasons, what's happening around them. We're nice that it's informal education, so they don't have to be worrying about TEKS or curriculum. Our goal is to get kids having fun outside. And again, underlying like building these longer lasting connections with nature. So we have our scheduled activities that happen throughout the day that we make announcements. Hey, in 15 minutes, we're going to be doing cooking in our mud kitchen over here if you want to join us. And everything is drop in, everything is included with zoo admission. So our target audience is birth to 5, but we are open to guests of all ages. And so the staff have to be ready for that.
Mhm.
That you will get families, you might get families in field trip groups, you might get a stroller mom group with a bunch of 1-year-olds. So they have to be able to be flexible and adapt to whoever drops in and wants to join. So outside of those scheduled activities, we do spontaneous play. And so that is where it is much, I mean, I'm not going to say much more child driven, because even our activities, we let the kids kind of choose. If we're going on a bug walk and they are really into squirrels, we'll talk about squirrels instead. But the
Mhm.
spontaneous play is where it's the child driven play, and we just kind of join in. And if they don't want, if they seem like they are having a good time by themselves, we're like, okay, I'll be over here, you're welcome to
Do
come
you
over
mean?
if you want.
Yep.
Um,
Do you use loose parts from the zoo,
yes,
like sticks and so talk about
yes.
what even that child-led play, the materials and things that might be available to them.
Yes, so we have different areas within our footprint, and yes, we will definitely stage them with loose parts. So we have your traditional loose parts that we put out, sometimes like cardboard or tunnels or obstacle course kind of materials. We have camping gear that we'll bring out for pretend and imaginative play outside by our stream. But what we'll also do is we'll ask our horticulture team, to
Mhm.
provide us with more natural items to use as loose parts. So palm fronds, elephant ear leaves, banana leaves, so that kids can kind of use those materials for fort building or for whatever they want as well. And then first thing in the morning, the play leaders usually go out and walk the footprint of the nature spot and collect natural items that we can use as cooking materials in the mud kitchen or ingredients. So
Mhm.
they'll look for, blossoms that have fallen off trees, leaves, sticks, acorn caps.
Oh, so much fun. I just want
Yeah.
to come and play in the mud kitchen. I
Yes.
had a every summer we do cousin camp with all the grandchildren, right? So
Mhm.
all the grandchildren come, and when they were younger, um, now they're mostly, I mean, we still have some young ones, but the majority of them are over 10, like up
Mhm.
to 16 now. But when they were younger, we at cousin camp, we would be out on the porch, and this is during the Harry Potter craziness, and they were
Mhm.
little, like they were, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, maybe. And they would say, "We want to make potions." I said, "Oh,
Yep.
you want to make potions? What potion should we make?" And so then they
Yep.
would, one of the older ones would list off a Harry Potter potion. And I said, "So I need the ingredients before we can make the potion. So let's go find the ingredients." And so off they would go into the backyard, looking at pebbles, acorn caps, leaves, sticks, dirt, anything.
Yep.
They bring it over, and they had little potion things that they could make their potions in, just little bowls that they could do that with. Oh my goodness.
And it's such a simple thing. It's like, if nothing else, every place should just throw in a mud kitchen, because
Yeah.
it's so simple and they love it so much. And I remember when we installed our first mud kitchen, our first model installation, we have a newer one now. I was shocked by how many kids had never made a mud pie, had
Mhm.
never played in mud. And it was really interesting. And that's another unique factor about the nature spot, is the parents and the caregivers are always present. So
Mhm.
it's not like a school or a drop off, you know, where you leave your kids. The parents and caregivers are always there. And so it's always really interesting because the parents and the caregivers have these memories of
Mhm.
making the mud pies. And it was interesting to see the parents trying to coax their children, like, come on, this is fun, look. And you would sometimes have kids that were really like,
No, thank you. You
squeamish.
told me
Yeah.
not to get dirty, so
Yes.
that looks dirty.
Yes. Yeah. And so, but on the flip side of that coin is, my favorite thing to see is when kids are crying because they don't want to leave the mud kitchen, you know, and the parents are like, let's go, you know. And I'm like, guess what? You can do this at home. All you need is water and a pot or a bucket and some dirt, and you can do this at home. And then they're like, oh,
Okay.
oh, okay,
Okay.
all right,
Okay.
okay. Yeah. So,
You do
yeah.
it at home. I have the fondest memories at my grandmother's house. She had this beautiful backyard with, I'm sure, in South Texas. So I grew up in the Rio Grande Valley, just so you know.
Mhm.
And so, you know, it gets as hot as it does in San Antonio down there. But
Yes.
in the summertime, if mom wanted to go shopping, she'd drop me off at grandma's. And at grandma's, she would say, okay, go play in the backyard. It was all fenced in because she lived on a busy street. And so out I would go, and I always got the hose and I always got the bucket that she had out there. And she had little tiny pie tins and little were rectangles and squares and
Mhm.
rounds. And she would put her cookie racks out there so I could mix my mud pies all together, and then I could put them on the racks and put them in the sun to bake. And of course, I'm sure she had poisonous berries that I just go pick off the
Yep.
bushes
Same.
to
My parents were like,
decorate.
do not eat those berries. We're like, okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, she didn't say do not eat them. I just didn't, I guess. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
I have the fondest memories and she would every now and then she'd come out and say, do you need something? I'd say, no, I'm fine. And
Yep.
I'd be
Yep.
making my mud pies.
It's
Oh,
it's
it's
such an easy way for the kids to connect. Yeah. And
and so much fun. And just the
so much fun.
creativity that you're able to do. Because, you know, once they baked, you had to decorate them.
Yep.
And so that's probably where the poison berries came in, and the leaves and the sticks. So, and then she
Yep.
would come out and see what I'd done. She'd say, talk to me about this one. What's this one? And I would say, oh, remember that pie you make that I really like? That's what this one is. It was a wonderful, easy way
Yep.
to keep kids busy. Hmm?
And honestly, I feel like with us being in the greater zoo, we also have those animal habitats
Mm,
integrated into the nature spot footprint. So it's really easy for us to make those connections and to connect with the kids, because
mm.
I mean, who doesn't love animals? You know, like I remember going to some of the Texas Children in Nature collaborative meetings, and I talk about the zoo and people are like, you're at the zoo, you know, like it's easy. Kids want to hear about the animals. They want to know more, you know, but it's just, we have I think the tagline for the Will Smith Zoo School that we have as part of San Antonio Zoos, their tagline is where learning comes naturally. And I really feel like that's true. When you're using nature and the environment and the animals and the surroundings around you, it's
you
authentic,
can't you can't
organic.
go wrong, right? I mean, that is the way kids learn, right? They're
Mhm.
exploring, they're discovering, they're interested, they're curious, they're motivated, they're excited. All of
Mhm.
those wonderful, and I love that tagline. Everyone needs to use that. So say it one
Yeah.
more time, Emily.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen similar taglines for other places. I mean, we're all on the same page of how important it is. And
but but say it one more time so people can say,
where
maybe this
learning
is the,
comes naturally.
where learning comes naturally. Oh my goodness.
They
That
have
is,
it on the back of their t-shirts that they wear in the zoo. It's really cute.
isn't that amazing? Okay, so we have a mud kitchen.
Hmm.
We have the animal habitats. Talk to me about, because you're in this wonderful place, talk to me about how the animal habitats are incorporated into um, that area.
Yes. So we have had, I mean, we've been open 21 years now, and I've been here for 10. And so even in the time that I've been there, this shape, this the footprint has shaped and evolved in different ways. And so when it was originally designed, a lot of intention went into the design of what is going to be easiest for the children to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And so they put actually 4 years into the planning and design and building of the nature spot. And I know that there were some experts involved with that process. So not only zoo staff, but early childhood experts. Dr. Joe Frost, was involved with the planning. And so two of the animals I think that are really easy connections, and I think that's why they're still in our footprint of the nature spot, are our squirrel monkey exhibit and our meerkats, which our meerkats are actually new. They've been there, I'd say, about a year or two. But those animals exhibit a lot of behaviors that are parallel to us, right? So when you're talking about early childhood and you look into a squirrel monkey's habitat, you'll notice their food. What are they eating? Children will recognize the food that the squirrel monkeys are getting. They're getting fruit, they're getting bananas, they're getting greens, cucumbers, and then you can make those connections back to the children. Well, do you like cucumber? Do you like strawberries? And when you look at how the animals move within their habitat, there's again a lot of those parallels of how children play. So the meerkats love to dig, they love to burrow, they love to hide. They're highly social. We are also highly social. The squirrel monkeys, they're jumping and climbing and hanging off things. And then there's opportunities nearby for the children to demonstrate those same behaviors. So it really is just so well thought out. And again, that intention that they put into the design of the nature spot, it really shows.
Oh my goodness, it just sounds amazing. So can you talk to me about how big the footprint is?
Yes, so we're about 2 acres,
Oh my God.
which is pretty significant when you think about the zoo and the real estate that we have. I think the
Mhm,
overall zoo is 50 to 55 acres.
mhm,
And so again, it really shows the value that the zoo puts in the children and our next generation of future conservationists,
mhm,
and giving them these opportunities to connect with the wildlife, with being outdoors, with animals. And that's something I forgot to mention earlier when we were talking about activities. One of the special things that we do are animal presentations throughout the day. The play leaders are trained to do animal presentations, and it's a really great opportunity for the children to see these animals up close and often potentially have the opportunity to touch them, which just makes these really impactful core memories. And it's so rewarding to see a child who seemed or was afraid of a snake by the end of a presentation be brave enough to touch it, or to do vermiposting and worms. And they don't want to
mhm,
touch the worm because it's slimy. So their worm is now their friend.
mhm.
Those anecdotes and those creating those moments for the kids, I it it's priceless.
Well, and I'm just thinking about you're taking away the fear, but giving
Mhm.
them the education, right? So
Mhm.
this snake is okay to touch, right? There's lots
Mhm.
of snakes in Texas that are not okay to touch, having grown up there.
Mhm.
But this one is okay to touch and feel how sometimes their skin looks wet and slimy, but it's not
Mhm.
wet and slimy. And so,
Yes.
what do you do when you see this kind of snake? Do you go around the snake? Do you try to scare the snake? What should we be doing with the snake so that they learn to be respectful
Mhm. And
of
that's
of
and
that
that's
nature?
part of it too, is when I was talking about the being part, like we have our own, agenda of children, nature, play,
Sure.
connecting with nature, getting outside, get out and play. But tying into the greater mission of the San Antonio Zoo is
Mhm.
our vision is to secure a future for wildlife. So how does nature play tie into that? Well, we have this acronym that we use in the zoo that we call LEAP: love, engage, act, and protect. And so for us, with our primary target audience being early childhood, what's most applicable when you're thinking about conservation and inspiring them is love, it's empathy, it's realizing, like you said, that there are snakes that maybe you don't want to get close to, but snakes have a vital role that they play in our environment, and we need snakes. And so that is how we tie everything back to the zoo and the greater mission of the San Antonio Zoo.
I will tell you my oldest grandchild, who's 16 now, the zoo, and they lived in Colorado for a long time. So the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, that you have to walk
Yes,
uphill
yes.
the whole time. They lived in Colorado for a long time, and the zoo, I mean, I would get them a zoo membership every year because the
Mhm.
zoo was the place they wanted to go. And so Miles would um, like say, Mom, we have to go where the zookeeper is that's going to do a presentation. And so then he'd ask great questions. When he was like 6, he'd ask great questions about the zoo. And I'm sure he's going to do something with animals in the future because that was such a powerful experience for him. Um,
That's and
it's
oh, sorry, you go.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it really goes full circle.
Mhm.
So we've been open 21 years. We opened in 2004. I have a play leader who is in her probably mid to late 20s who remembers coming to the nature spot as a child. And she's like, I remember coming here. I remember fishing in the pond room. I remember interacting and playing with a play leader, like, so these connections that we have with our guests, even if it's brief,
Mhm.
even if it's one time and we never see them again, they still remember.
It's a wonderful childhood memory that
Yeah.
they can think about and dream about and hopefully imitate when they get back home. And so you're giving them these tools
Hmm.
of ideas that they can use. And if they liked it, then they're going to repeat it over and over and over again, that's part of learning.
Yeah.
It's all about repetition and trying new ways to solve a problem and all of that. Emily,
Yeah.
this has been incredible. So, closing thoughts, and then we have to have you back because I know you still have a list to talk about, but closing thoughts of something you'd like to share before we close out.
I guess what I would want to share is, number one, if anyone has any questions, I don't know if you have a way of linking in my email, if people wanted
I
to
can
reach
do it
out.
in the YouTube video. Yeah.
Yeah, if they want to know more, if they want to see pictures, because like I am happy to share, what works. But I would say my takeaway for people watching is I hope that this model can help them advocate for their
Hmm.
own organizations or places to get staff that are
Hmm.
designated for play, because
Oh,
it is important and there is value to it
mhm.
that it'll bring back to your organization.
Exactly. And those families come back to you because
Yes.
they don't, they can watch or participate, but they don't have to lead it, right? Because they're
Yes.
not quite sure how to
Mhm.
lead it. So you have the experts there that
Yep.
are able to answer the children's questions or engage them in a
Mhm.
activity if they're interested. All of that child development knowledge and the way to engage children is also a great model for the parents in how
Yes.
to engage their child. So,
Yes.
I mean, there's so much benefit to it. And so I hope
Mhm.
everyone will think about it and maybe go to your zoo and say, why can we talk about this model? And I'm
Yes.
sure there are funders out there that would fund it. So
Yes.
it's one of those things that is is so it's so beneficial to the zoo to have return visitors, but so beneficial to the population of those visitors. So, oh,
Yes,
wonderful.
exactly.
Stay right there, Emily, while I close this out. To
Okay.
learn more about IPA USA, please visit our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, keep on playing.